Hydrate power. You're in the dog zone for an hour. Come on. You know the number. 1-900 hot dog. 1-900 hot dog. 1-900 hot dog. Yeah, 9,000.
Welcome to the DOGGZZONE 9000, the official podcast of 1-900hot dog, America's last comedy website. Come support us, patreon.com/1900hotdog, where your pledge ensures the world's last living comedy writers can spend their final days with others of their kind in lush enclosures that mimic their native habitats, by which I mean the internet of 2012. We write new high-effort, non-robot comedy about cursed media every single day, plus you get bonus episodes of this very podcast. You can support our other podcast, Big Feats. It's more successful than this one, so it doesn't really flow that way. Follow our animated and video podcasts on the YouTube channel. The one we don't mention, it's at 1-900hotdog. Shop the prolific store we never mention. That's at 1900hotdog.com. Join the thriving Discord I don't think we've ever mentioned. That's us. We're an entire lost ecosystem of joy. Come join us. I'm Demented Experiment of an Evil Utility Company, Robert Brockway, and with me is the mysterious and dangerous, possibly just an old woman in a coat, Seanbaby.
It's all true. Before the show, I said the words LL Beanfoot. I want to make it clear that I will not be making puns like that on the show today. I want to apologize to our guests.
Apologize to our guest, fellow remnants of the ancient good internet turned cryptid lunatics. Weird that we all took this path. It's Drew Toothpaste and Natalie Dee. Hi, guys.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, thanks for having us yet again. It's always fun.
Yeah. Where can we find more of you guys around?
We're at garbagebrainuniversity.com, spelled just how it sounds.
Right.
And we're on Blue Sky now, at Drew Toothpaste and at natalied.bsky.social.
Yeah.
That's one of the many things we forget to plug. I'm probably on that.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
on Blue Sky. I don't remember what my handle is. I don't know what I wrote down. Come find us, probably. Playing fast and loose. All right. Well, we are, like I said, we're all went from old school comedy to cryptid adjacent, at least at times, which is an odd thing. But I figured we would explore some of the exotic and dangerous monsters living in our own backyard, specifically my own backyard, Connecticut. I have a book here called Connecticut Cryptids, and we're going to go through it. Here's the thesis of this podcast. What if some cryptids just suck shit?
I was already asking that when I heard the title of the book.
I would guarantee that some of them absolutely do suck shit.
Well, I think we might find them, because I think if any state is going to have the most boring middle class, just Volvo station-ass monsters, it's Connecticut.
But we're focusing on such a small area, you're really neglecting, Massachusetts cryptids. Because I know Massachusetts does have a shit sucker.
Totally different cryptids. Different cryptid environment. Is it actually called the shit sucker?
Yes, yeah, it absolutely is.
That's such a Massachusetts-ass thing to do.
I feel like I have questions, but they would all have really obvious answers.
Right.
That's exactly what Boston would name a cryptid. Even if it didn't suck shit, literally, they'd call it a shit sucker.
Well, Vermont has the Vermont Pigman.
There's a pigman somewhere in here. He wasn't. Maybe we'll get to him.
That's ours. He went down
Well,
there.
there's also a Connecticut pigman. I think they're different in that this one has like a cable knit sweater.
Guy. They're probably the same guy. Or cousins, at least.
Unlike the Vermont one, this one just talks about liberalism and really votes Trump. That's the difference between our pigman.
All right.
This is a really meticulously researched book. It's great. It's literally called Connecticut Cryptids. It's written by Patrick Scalisi and illustrated by Valerie Rubin Oman. Great name. My wife got it for me. I like the book a lot. It's not the book's fault that our cryptids suck ass. So if you want to read a book about suck ass cryptids, here you go. It's put together great. So I'm just going to read you some entries from this, and you guys are, I guess, going to rate them. I'm not sure what scale we want to use.
I rate shit all the time.
Sure.
Okay.
Every episode we rate this shit. I'm hot for it.
Should we
All
come
right.
up with
Well,
a standard by which
I
we
think-
measure, or should we just kind of wing it?
I think Bigfoot's the standard.
I think 1 to 5 is good. 1 to 10 is good. We usually do 1 to 10, where 1 is like not at all real and 10 is like extremely real. And
Okay.
I would say that 10 would be aliens and 1 would be vampires. Personally.
Okay.
On a personal scale. These are way worse than vampires. All of
Yeah.
this.
I don't think vampires are real at all.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good calibration. I think I would put him in about a 3. I think if I met a
You
vampire,
think
I'd be like,
vampires are a 3?
yeah. If aliens are a 10, I think vampires are a 3. Sure. Because I think I'd be close to equally astonished if I met either one of them, but also not. I'd be like, okay, you're a vampire. I got a plan for this.
Well, I'm coming from the place where none of these are real, not necessarily because I'm a skeptic, but because it would make me very sad if they were real. Like I don't want to have to feel bad for a cryptid. You know what I mean?
Are you saying that these guys are all real pathetic?
They're pretty pathetic.
Okay.
They're pretty
All right.
pathetic. Like if they were real, there would be like a Sarah McLachlan commercial where she's just like
Save the
she's just
Vermont
asking
pig
for
man.
you. Yes, she's asking for your help because they are not handling the modern world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
So,
well.
Okay.
so where we come from, or where we grew up, there was a cryptid called the Loveland Frog, or the Loveland Frog Man, depending on who you ask.
Okay.
And it was just a large frog / frogman / man. And he was crossing the road and got seen in somebody's headlights once, and that's it.
Right.
Okay,
right.
you are right on the wavelength. We've got some of that. That's what we're looking at here.
But you also have to understand that we are originally from like Mothman country, so the bar is really high for us.
Okay, how about Mothman? Because Mothman's my favorite. Mothman whips ass. Mothman's a 10.
Right. So, but the standards we're using. So, Natalie suggested realness. I would suggest
Yeah.
ferocity or danger might be a standard by
Okay,
which we could
that's
judge
good.
them. Maybe
Uh-huh.
sex appeal. I don't want. I that may be a little silly, but I do think that being a very fuckable cryptid makes it a better cryptid.
Yeah.
Like Frogman,
Yeah.
totally
Mothman-
sucks. But like Bigfoot,
I think-
very fuckable.
I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
think we should rate him on fuckability.
Okay.
Okay,
A
great.
3-point scale.
Can we?
And I know you have to have seen the Mothman statue in
Oh,
Point
yeah.
Pleasant, West
Cake.
Virginia. He has a huge ass, and it is shiny because everyone touches
Everyone's
his
got to
ass.
get that ass. Yeah, that's a really
They
sexy
knew what they were
cryptid.
doing. You know what you're doing when you make that ass.
And he did 9/11. Women love a bad boy.
All right. So our first cryptid is the Candlewood Lake Monster. I love a
So far,
classic.
so
I love
good.
just a monster in
Yeah.
the name. So it sounds like we're off to a good start. And the way this book goes into history and stuff first. So I'm just going to read you kind of an abbreviated version. Among Connecticut's several ghost towns is the community known as Jerusalem in present-day New Milford. Unlike villages that were abandoned after industry dried up, the people of Jerusalem didn't leave voluntarily. Rather, they were forced out when Connecticut Light and Power, now Eversource, which is actually my utility company, finalized its plan to create Candlewood Lake. However, something besides the drowned remains of Jerusalem and Big Basin lurks beneath the lake's surface. Since at least the 1970s, stories have persisted about the so-called Candlewood Lake Monster. Given that the lake is man-made, it's reasonable to ask where this creature came from. Just, huh.
So some kind of a Frankenstein situation, or like a mutant.
He was in the original plans when they built the lake.
Yeah,
They're like, okay,
They're like, I don't think we should put the monster in there.
we need to make it about 15 feet deep. 15 feet deep. We need to have banks or whatever. Maybe there's like a dam or something. I don't fucking know.
Now, Chuck, I'm
But
looking at the blueprints
monster.
here.
Absolutely monster.
There's a little section, a little scribble down here that just says monster. Were you bored and fucking around, or is that supposed to be in there? Tell the truth, Chuck, because I'm going to put the monster in there if it's supposed to be in there.
There's a little wiggle room in the budget, so they just threw him in.
So is there any kind of description? Is it like Nessie-like?
Yeah, we're getting there. Hold on.
Okay,
Oh,
all right,
okay.
all right. You're jumping
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
Speaking of, unlike Loch Ness or Lake Champlain, Candlewood Lake isn't a primordial environment disturbed by human intervention. Therefore, it seems unlikely that some kind of underwater creature was already there, hibernating underground on dry land, just waiting in case the area flooded.
Yeah, this makes sense. It's no plesiosaur. Don't be silly. It's a man-made power plant monster. Duh.
Okay, Sean's got it in one. That being the case, CL&P, the power company, becomes a credible suspect for the creation of the Candlewood Lake monster. Notorious for their rate hikes. It's possible that the power company was up to something even more nefarious and made the Candlewood Lake monster as a pretext for hiding an experiment that grew out of the utility's control.
Now, Brockway, this is your power company. Is there like something on your bill every month that's like that could be a monster fee? Does it say monster fee on your bill?
Like, you're joking?
Monster tax?
Yes, there could absolutely be.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
we have the worst power company in the state. They're in the country. And they've done this like numerous times. Every time we're number one for like most expensive power bill, the least that goes in there. And it's the problem isn't the supply of the electricity. It's all of the weird, like, unspecified fees that they put in. So like, you might only use $100 worth of electricity, but then they'll have another like, here's what it costs us to operate as a company fee of like $200. And you're like, well, what the fuck is that?
That's monster fee.
That's monster fee.
That's all going into the monster.
Mhm.
No kidding.
And think about this. In every version of Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster, to satisfy the pedants out there, in every version of this monster, there's always like Tesla coils, there's lightning strikes, there's electricity. When you create a monster, you have to get that juice in there.
Yeah.
And who else is going to have that much electricity?
Now, when you tell me that the electric company had something to do with the creation of this monster, the first thing my mind jumps to is the idea that maybe it was originally just like a regular old salamander or something.
Yeah,
You
that
haven't
makes
described
sense.
this guy to me yet. And then he was in the water and they're polluting the water, or they have electricity running through it, and it just made this poor little salamander go crazy.
Well, let's get to the physical.
That's very plausible.
Affectionately known as Candy, the Candlewood
Aw.
Lake monster. Candy is fond of... That's awful cute. Candy is fond of bumping and sometimes capsizing boats that wander into her domain, forcing the occupants to flee or risk being eaten. While Candy's exact size and dimensions are not known, she is at least large enough to threaten boats up to 26 feet long, which is the general size restriction set by Candlewood Lake. In appearance, Candy resembles a giant walleye or bluegill with a sleek body, protruding fins, and a powerful jaw. She's a big fish.
Okay.
Okay, so she's not a lizard.
A bluegill. Okay, that's surprising. I assumed like at least a couple of legs, but just a big
Just a
fish,
real big
yeah.
fish made by the power company because they like to hike rates. I'm not sure how this plan works. I don't know how this lets you hike the rates higher. Like, we need a real big fish. We need like a demented fish out there.
Give me 2 coolers of Keystone Light and a can of worms. I'm gonna go get this goddamn fish.
Well, it may have been. I mean, people sometimes have, as much as I don't like the practice, people sometimes have guard dogs for their yard or their junkyard, right?
Yeah.
It would stand to bear if the utility company is so despised that maybe they were like, yeah, people are going to come get us. Like, one rate hike too many, and people are going to come get us. We need a monster.
Guardfish.
We need something to protect us.
Guardfish.
Yeah.
We need a guardfish.
Project Guardfish.
Yeah.
And right, if you're going to sneak up to the power company, you're going to cross the lake. They'll spot you if you're coming on land.
Mm-hmm.
It's making sense. So that's it for Candy, the demented electric rate hike monster. How are we rating that one?
I think in terms of believability, I think it's possible there's a giant fish. I will give that a 4 out of 5.
Definitely.
Okay.
In terms of fuckability, I'm going to give this guy a 1.
Yeah, there's few things less fuckable than an electric fish.
2 reasons, okay? Too wet. I'm not into wet.
Okay.
I like dry.
You like a
It's
nice
like
dry
wet,
fish.
slimy. I'm not into. Yeah, right. 2.
I like to fuck a nice dry chupacabra.
The second reason is that fish don't have penises.
Yeah, that's not a real fuckable monster.
Now, see, for me, my score's a lot higher.
Because fish do have many orifices,
Got a powerful jaw right there in the description.
throbbing with electricity.
I live in New England. My power is really expensive here. I'm in it for the free electricity, really.
Yeah. I mean, if
point.
anybody's got the
You charge your
hookup,
phone.
it's-
What's your rank on the fish? Rate the fish, baby.
I'm gonna give it a 2. I feel like even though its fuckability is higher than others, I really think if it wrecks a 26-foot boat, it's got to be as big as the boat. And I think somebody would have seen it. And, there's so much shit on the internet that people are always trying to fuck that somebody would have gone to the lake and gone for it. They would have by now.
We would have that shameful obituary. Plus, I don't know, the name Candy, hot to trot. I'm giving it a 4.
Whoa, super fuckable.
Okay.
I think it's low on the fuckability, but very plausible that power plant would make a guardfish. I think it's a very deadly fish because you have to enter its domain to battle it. There's no way you're luring Candy onto the shore. I'm going to give it, we're doing out of 5. I'm going to give it a 3.
Well, you know what? You said that Candy was not going to come out of the lake, but I'll say that some of the original stories of the Loch Ness Monster was on land, crossing the road in front of people who were driving around next to the lake.
But he has flippers. He can kind of plesiosaur flop around, right? He's a big ol'...
Candy could do a little flip-flop like a magic carp.
Yeah, a little magic
I gave her a 4. Candy can undulate.
Right.
And she's got some moves.
It's true.
Maybe upper fuckability a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was going to say electricity also implies some teleportation powers, or maybe like she could jump into a power line. That wouldn't surprise me. If I was fighting a fish and it jumped into a power line, I'd say, yeah, that makes sense.
See, this is the danger with me giving you a really shitty cryptid, is that you're immediately making up a better cryptid, which is something that Connecticut natives have not managed to do over a period of hundreds of years.
Get on our level, Connecticut.
All right, our next cryptid is Bony. So we got kind of a sexy name.
Okay.
Not all cryptids are malignant at heart. Some actively seek the company of humans. This is exactly what the fey creature known as Bony did for several years. Not only did Perry operate what is known as the smallest store in the world, but he was also much admired by his neighbors for the deep relationship he cultivated with nature. On February 25th, 1928, Connecticut Light and Power began pumping water into the site that would eventually become Candlewood Lake.
Damn it.
I didn't even plan it this way. Shit. So no one was quite sure where Perry came from. He was simply there one day running his tiny store. Like he had emerged from the fairy realm. What was more certain was that Perry wasn't like other people. Children were convinced that he spoke to the elves and fairies that lived near Greenwood Brook, and everyone knew that Perry could talk to animals, as he did whenever he went to Sherman to buy supplies for his store. Along the way, Perry would inevitably meet a tame raccoon well known to the town.
Okay, sure. This is adorable. He's like a little man who goes shopping on a raccoon?
There was a tame raccoon well known to the town already, unrelated to Bony.
Okay.
We just had like a mascot raccoon? Man, times sure have changed.
Can I get a description of Bony here? Is he little?
He is mostly just human. He's just a human. Here's the closest you get to a physical description. If Perry himself was unusual in any way, his smallest store was the strangest still. So his store was the weird part. The shop was only large enough to admit 2 children or 1 adult at a time, and was adorned everywhere with musical bells.
Oh.
There were also goods that he sold. He carried possibly candy, as well as 2 kinds of snuff for the Swedes.
Okay.
When you said, our cryptids are really shitty, I thought you meant like, they lacked a little panache or whatever. But this is a guy that has a store, and they're calling him a cryptid because his store isn't big enough. This is what capitalism is.
That's the naked capitalism that Connecticut is known for. You're a fucking cryptid with how bad this store is. What is that, a tame raccoon?
I like the idea of a guy from Virginia saying, I was just attacked by 7 Bigfoots last week. And this guy said, I know cryptids too. I met a fellow earlier. That's a weird store. He met a raccoon once.
So the raccoon was the cryptid? No.
No.
The normal man who met the raccoon.
Yes.
The friendship was the cryptid.
Our stories are equal.
Your Bigfoot controls lightning, you say? Well, this one has 2 kinds of snuff for the Swedes.
And I hope you have a sweet tooth, because my cryptid has several candies.
Maybe. There was not a hard commitment in the text. Possibly candy. One day, another Basin resident named Chuck Munson passed by the smallest store and was greeted only with silence. That night, Munson told his family that Perry had gone and that the smallest store had been abandoned. However, Munson also coveted something that Perry had left behind, a painting titled Custer's Last Fight that hung prominently in the shop and was much admired by all who visited. In the days after Perry's mysterious disappearance, Munson took the painting and sold it to a New Yorker. When pressed about having appropriated the artwork, Munson justified his actions by saying that Perry would no longer have any use for it because Munson allegedly found Perry's body when Munson returned to the shop to take the painting.
It's okay, I looted the dead.
I think he killed Perry Bony for that painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think this is
That's a little too straightforward to call that a mystery, I think.
Yeah, if he shows up and he's like, hey, that guy's just totally gone. And they're like, well, why do you have that painting? Like, oh, well, I found him dead, actually, is what happened. This guy wants to buy it for a lot of money, though, so it's cool. This is just a murdered whimsical man.
Yep.
is what we have here. That's our cryptid.
Yeah.
Okay.
A very whimsical little man has been murdered for his painting. It's not his ghost.
Not very deadly, but super fuckable.
This is a 5 out of 5 for fuckability. Perry Bony sounds like he could get it.
And listen, he's got his own place.
Right, it's
That's
small.
That's gotta put you up at the top of the scale.
He convenes with nature. He is able to communicate with raccoons.
That's true.
He has really questionable business plans. He has candy. I think I've fucked him already.
Yeah, man. Me too. Like this is I'm from Portland, man. This is like a Portland 8. Easy.
Right. Perry Bony was like drowning in trim. That's what happened to him.
Yep.
He fucked himself to death in his tiny store. Chuck Munson fucked him to death and took his painting.
Right. Happens to the best of us.
I'm gonna rate him real low on savageness, though. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he had some sweet burns. I don't know the guy.
He can summon raccoons.
It was already there.
Why? Has he ever done anything like paranormal at all, or is he just like a guy with a bad store? Okay, well, I talk to animals.
Yeah,
too.
I talk to my dog literally all day. I just told my dog I had to go do a podcast. So like, I'm whimsical as fuck. Nobody murder me for my paintings.
I would give him 5 on the fuckability scale, 1 on the cryptid scale, because I'm not sold on his cryptosity. Is that a word?
It is now.
Yeah, and it's, a lot of the cryptids, it's there's a lot of their value is bound to their mystery. Right. And really, if he was always there until somebody killed him, it's like, there's not much mystery there, I don't think.
Even his death is not too mysterious.
Yeah, Chuck Munson killed him for the painting.
Chuck killed him for the painting.
It's not even a murder mystery.
It's a classic painting murder mystery. I'm going to give this guy a 0. I'm going to disqualify him from being a cryptid. He's just a guy.
We know his name. I think that's one of the qualifications, that you can't know their first and last given name.
You can't look him up in the phone book.
If his name was Jonathan Bigfoot, I would think that would no longer be a cryptid.
You can't file taxes if you're a cryptid.
All right, let's move on to the Winsted Wildman.
He sounds fuckable already. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The legend of the Winsted Wildman is one of Connecticut's most famous cryptids. The creature was once seen pulling up trees, killing sheep, and trapping a woman on the roof of her home. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Some speculated that the Wildman was actually an escaped gorilla, while others suggested that it was a fleeing convict or institutional patient.
Somewhere in that scale.
Somewhere in there. That's either a gorilla or a guy I know. You gotta commit. There's a real big difference to how I approach those problems. The Evening Times of Washington, D.C. reported on November 7th, 1898 that the Wildman had been spotted in Winsted. This time there was speculation that the sightings were a dastardly ruse to keep frightened people away from the polls on Election Day.
Oh man.
So they've been doing that
for years.
Bit for a while then, yeah.
At least back in the day, they would add a gorilla to it. I feel like our parents got higher effort voting conspiracies.
Yeah, right? There's a Winsted Wild. Don't go to the polls, everybody. There's a Winsted Wildman. He's a gorilla, or maybe a guy. I don't know. He's bad news.
Yeah.
He might be a poll worker.
It's a Scooby-Doo-esque ruse to... only instead of real estate, it's an election. I don't know, that's pretty good so far. In 1929, Frank Wentworth published a book titled The Winsted Wildman and Other Tales, chronicling the original story of the Wild Man and how sightings and stories still impacted the town more than 30 years later. One anecdote suggested that an uncouth woman wearing a man's coat and smoking a pipe was one of the freaks for which the area had become known.
So they knew the town. Like, you got to see this town. There's a lady there who wears a guy's coat.
And smokes a pipe.
Oh, shit.
What? We'll get the whole gang together and go take a look.
That's one of the cryptids that this town is known for, is a woman in a man's coat who smokes. All right.
These are so much shitty. When you said shitty, I was expecting things like Drew's Frogman. Like, oh, just a shitty little frogman that someone saw once.
Yeah.
But no, these are just eccentric people.
Well, hold on. Most agree that the wild man is somewhere between 6 and 8 feet tall and weighs up to 300 pounds. So we got a shack.
Okay, we got one shack.
We got one shack. It walks upright on 2 legs, is covered in hair, is brawny and muscular, and many people say that it's covered in thick dark hair and wears blue overalls and rags tied around its neck.
This is a hillbilly Jim. This is very deadly.
Yeah.
He's got a vibe. I like his vibe.
I'm gonna put him high on the fuckability scale for like the
100%.
like the scruffy dude with the bandana around his neck. Like, overalls.
The overalls with no shirt is definitely a vibe.
Yeah. I feel confident we're not going to top this on fuckability. This is what you're looking for.
This sounds like some Elephant 6 motherfucker, right? Like like a hot hipster guy. Like Mount.
Yeah,
Beach.
again, I'm from Portland. This is a Portland 9.
Right.
This is getting up there.
This is a country shack.
That's the wild man. He doesn't want you to vote. He's the size of a shack. He's real hot.
And he's out of control. He'll put you right on your roof.
Not relationship material, but one night stand for sure.
Yeah, I would say fuckability is a 5 on that one, probably also. Is it making me sound really slutty?
Yeah, slutty for cryptids.
I will fuck any
From now
cryptid
on,
that's dry.
we'll just assume it's a 5 every time from you. Have we landed on whether he's a gorilla or a man? Do we have any more details that could help us narrow down? Because if he's a gorilla, I feel like that's less believable than just a big guy.
No, we have no more details. It's either a gorilla or an escaped convict. He's really hairy and wears just overalls and a bandana, which is...
I feel like in the 20s, they would put a gorilla in, federal prison. I want to say he's both. In my headcanon, I think he's an escaped gorilla. But not from the zoo, from prison.
See, when I was a kid, now this is, we grew up, now we are, high-proof New Englanders now officially, but we grew up in the Midwest, and around where I grew up, actually very close to the Loveland Frog, was a bike trail I used to ride on. And my dad used to take me riding on this bike trail, and you would immediately say, wow, very wholesome. So we would ride 6 miles down this bike trail, and then my dad would go to a bar, and I would stand outside of the bar, and they had a chimp locked in a jail in there, and if you lit a cigarette and gave it to the chimp, he would smoke it while you watched.
Wow.
That's where I hung out when I was a kid.
Wow.
There are so many crimes happening in that story.
No, you can look it up. His name was Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Sam the cigarette smoking chimp.
And he got addicted to cigarettes.
What did Sam die of?
They actually, in the 90s, they broke him out of his bar prison and they put him in this nice little sanctuary.
Okay.
So he actually had a decent life, and honestly, hanging out at a bar blasting cigs for a few years, it's not bad, especially when you're young.
I mean, did they buy him shots at least? Could you buy him a shot?
Oh yeah, you could give him beers, you could give him sodas, and he loved it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
That's
apart from
incredible.
the being in jail part,
Sure.
Apart from being in a prison you can drink at.
Aside from violating nature's laws, it was a fun delight.
right? I'm not saying it's good. It's just when you live in Cincinnati, there's a lot of moral relativism happening.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, for the wild man, for how realistic it is, this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I mean, he could have been outside of any bar.
Right.
Yep.
Or he could have just been like a wild dude. Could have just been out to party.
How fuckable would you say he is?
Oh, 5 out of 5.
Okay.
I mean,
Fives
huge,
across the board, for sure.
a huge, hairy guy wandering around, like, in overalls with no shirt. Come on.
Just causing trouble. I mean,
Very sexual.
If he's a ape, I would give him a 4. But if it's a dude, I would give it a 5.
it gets the
I
4.
have a little bit of standards.
Have you considered if he was an ape, he would be able to piss like a fire hose?
Well, so can some guys.
That's a fair point.
That doesn't impress me.
We all agree. Wildman's in a strong lead, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like Harry Bony better. But yeah, go on.
I'm gonna knock him right out with the Goatman of the Opera House.
No.
Okay, because when you just say Goatman, I was like, that's the guy from The Picture. I remember him.
No. Of the Opera House. A paranormal investigation occurred at the abandoned Ansonia Opera House in April 2021. Oh, so this is a recent one. I could go find this guy. Videos and photos shot by the research team revealed orbs, apparitions, and moving shadows, all telltale signs of ghostly activity. But then investigators caught sight of something they did not expect: the silhouette of a goat-like humanoid creature. This Goatman sighting isn't unusual for the fact that it did occur. I think it's a little, but rather for where it occurred. That's because Goatmen are not native to Connecticut.
I was going to say, you don't normally see the Goatman inside an opera house.
Nope, Connecticut. Apparently they're very... Opera House, totally normal. It's weird that they're in Connecticut. Are the effects of climate change driving populations of goatmen into the Northeast?
Yes.
Firm yes on that one.
It's either the climate change or it's like the kind of states' rights stuff they're doing. Maybe the Goatman came because they shut off the porno. They shut off the porno in like half the states, and he's like, fuck this, I'm going to Connecticut.
Yeah.
Maybe his girlfriend needed an abortion.
Yeah, that's probably why.
That's probably why.
That's-
We solved it. All right.
It is your duty to kill the goatmen whenever you find them in opera houses, as is common. I have to assume. It's so weird that they specified, like, oh, it's weird to see a goatman here in Connecticut. Moving on, I have nothing to say about the opera house. A man named Jeffrey Jerry has a different theory about what was spotted there. Jeffrey Jerry is a cryptid-ass name.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry is the founder and lead investigator of the Connecticut Paranormal and Supernatural Tracking Society, and the individual who took the photo of the goat creature in Ansonia. He believes that the picture depicts a satyr. If there is indeed a satyr living in Ansonia, then an old opera house would certainly be the appropriate residence for such a creature.
Then Jeffrey Jerry said, "Oh no, the moonlight is touching me," and fled before his bones reknit into the form of goat.
I really am. I'm struggling with the opera house being the most possible place to see the Goatman. I would think an enchanted wood, a dark cave, a clearing at midnight under a full moon definitely have got to be ahead of opera house.
Well, you got to remember this is a Connecticut cryptid, so it's pretentious.
So I'm forgot this part. Did you say it was an abandoned opera house or it's an operating opera house?
It didn't specify, but because they were doing an investigation there, I assume abandoned, but I guess it doesn't have to be. They could have just given them. It could have just be an old opera house. Let me look it up.
Was it born of goat and man, I guess is my question.
No, it's an immigrant, is what its origin
Did
is.
someone fuck a goat? Okay, just it came from a country with goat men.
They have a theory that it might be a satyr. It's definitely, what's important is that it's not from here, and it needs to go back where it came from.
Well, it may be. What if it's from New Jersey? Because this sounds like Jersey Devil type stuff to me.
A little
honestly.
bit. And that was a pretty fuckable one, if I remember it.
That's true.
New Jersey isn't terribly far from Connecticut, really.
Not for a goat.
So it was not in use, but it was not necessarily abandoned. It looks like it's being like restored.
Yeah.
So a disused opera house.
Yeah, a disused temporarily, a temporarily embarrassed opera house.
Right.
Slumming it in really pretentious cryptids.
And what is an opera house when nobody's singing in it anyway?
Goatman hole is what they call that.
I'm going to put this guy a little lower on the fuckability because I find goat men a little repulsive. Their legs look like they're on backwards. Ferocity, I think you could take this guy hand to hand. You don't even need a weapon to kill Goatman. Plus, I feel like you'd want to kill Goatman. Whereas I feel like Perry Bony, like, was naturally lovable. Like, it wouldn't even come up. The deadly combat wouldn't even come up with Perry Bony because you're talking art and raccoons and buying candy. I'm going to give this guy 2.
I would have assumed that the Goatman. Now, my experience with goats are definitely mixed. I know some folks here in town that have little, like, sort of dwarf pygmy goats, and they're, like, real cute, and they're still pretty solid. But a man-sized goat, we might be talking, because those suckers are huge and solid, and like the size of a barrel, you know. So a goat man might be more like a minotaur. So for me, the ferocity, I think, would be up there. I don't think I would go hand to hoof.
Really?
With the goat man. I'd probably back down, honestly. And I'm not, it's just for me, it's a Sun Tzu thing, you know, where the ancient book of, you know, the art of war, where he says stuff like, if your enemy is stronger, don't fight them.
He was so wise.
Valuable wisdom.
So smart.
Yeah, I would go by his wisdom. And if I pulled up on the goat man and he's just looking a little too solid and tight, I might be like, it's your opera house. Go for it, man.
Right. I think I would give him 2s across the board. 2 on believability because, like, no one ever saw him until these guys went out looking for weird shit, which to me is always a flag. 2 on fuckability because, like, goats smell really bad.
Plus, you don't know what parts are goat.
Right. But it all smells like goat. And also, if he's hanging out in an opera house, he's probably into, like, musicals and stuff. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Great.
This is a bit of a 90s observation, but if it's like a dude at an opera house, like, he might not be super into the ladies. You can cut that, Jamie. People don't need to know I still think like that.
I'm going to break form here. I rate the Goatman of the Opera House fairly high. He does lose points for being into the opera. I find that just a little unbelievably pretentious. Like, in the modern day, are you really just a dude that's into the opera? I don't know. I don't quite buy it. I don't know that I'd want to fight him because I actually have fought some goats and it sucks. They're like...
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're jerks.
I raised goats too. They do headbutt.
They headbutt, it hurts like crazy. They're really aggressive. They're like wildly aggressive. Like, I don't want to fuck with the Goatman. But I do kind of want to fuck with the Goatman because every time I've seen like Pan and Satyr drawings, he has a huge cock. Like huge goat cock. So I'm giving him like a 4 out of 5 in savageness. I'm going to give him 4s across the board. Well, no, I'm going to give him a 2 in believability because I don't believe that he's in Connecticut. It's such a weird place for him to be.
But what if being in such an unlikely place is like part of his cover?
Undercover Goatman of the Opera House.
Right, like, no, but if you're a magical secret Goatman, you're like, where's the last place somebody's going to look for me?
Fucking opera, right? Put on half of my tux. All right, let's move on to the Hiam Mucket.
Great name.
That is a great name. You're getting points for the name already. Most of what we know about the Hiam Mucket comes from the exhaustive work of famed cryptozoologist Arthur Wicknick Jr. Great names across the board. Artie Wicknick, who has been studying the mucket since the 1980s. One theory is that the mucket is of extraterrestrial origin and that the creatures were seeded in Connecticut as pets or food for future alien visitors.
This guy's been working on this theory since the 80s, you say, and he's come up with, this man was left here for food for future generations of alien visitors. It's an interesting theory.
They dropped a bunch of protein bars down here just in case they wanted to come back. Why Candlewood Hill Brook was chosen is unclear, but Wicknick explains that the muckets stay in Candlewood Hill Brook because the aliens left behind a galactic sphere that releases cosmic elements into the water to make the fish think they are on their home planet. Wow.
And again, he's been working on this since the 80s. Okay.
I don't know. I sense that work. It's like sometimes when you work on something for too long, it grows well out of like your control.
Yeah, this has a lot of depth to it, I guess.
You need somebody to come in and be like, hey, listen, we really gotta pare this down. You just said some shit about a cosmic sphere feeding the fish.
Is he a fish guy? What is he?
Adult muckets can grow to 18 inches in length, though young specimen known as calves are slightly smaller. A typical mucket has a catfish-like body with sharp scales and a forked tail. Its head, though, is more like that of a lizard with broad lips and razor teeth that are constantly sharpened by its rough tongue.
Okay.
I don't know about that part.
Okay.
Losing points on the fuckability. Wait, no. I just thought about
it. Rough tongue, you say? Male muckets are known as bulls and sport 2 curved horns about an inch in length atop their lumpy skulls. Some bulls grow a 3rd horn. All right, here we go. Here we go, 3rd horn, right? Oh, on their lower jaw. Okay, I thought that was going somewhere else. Which was a highly prized commodity prior to the launch of the Mucket Recovery Program. Okay.
There is an incredible amount of world building going into this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this. Usually it's just, I saw a weird guy, but there's a whole world of Mucket.
And there's a little bit more here. Muckets will bite humans if threatened. A mucket's bite is venomous, though suggestions that the creature's saliva can lead to baldness might be too fantastical to believe.
That's where you draw the line. That's the line you draw.
This fantastical creature bit me, a 45-year-old man, and now I don't have hair in parts of my head.
My doctor said it was not a space fish, but the jury's still out.
It's a space fish that gives you baldness. Left here by the aliens because it's popcorn to aliens, as we know.
Okay, I'm gonna put these guys low on fuckability. So they're 18 inches long. So if they're only half the size of a human penis, I mean that's not really that fuckable.
I like the rough tongue. I was with you with like the 3rd horn, but then you're like, no, lower jaw. That's just like that's inconvenient positioning. That's gonna go places, no matter
that's
where
gonna
you
go in
try
and
to put
never
it.
come out.
Yeah, 0 on fuckability. Sounds kind of savage, like a 3. I don't know, like a little piranha or something.
Oh yeah.
0 on believability with the baldness and the cosmic sphere. Just pare it back. Artie Wicknick. You're just going too nuts.
You almost had me with the luscious lips.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's going somewhere. And then razor sharp teeth, cosmic, delirium for them to make them think they're not even on Earth. And then, the tongue and the teeth and the horns.
What are you even going to talk about? They're like, hey, welcome to my planet. And you're like, this is actually just a lake on Earth with a weird sphere that makes you think it's space.
What?
That's crazy. I'm going to make you bald. You're like, you can't do that. I know you can't do that.
Well, here's the question. Like, if these guys have, like, a sphere that convinces them that they are fish on another planet, that, to me, implies that all of the fish here know that they're on Earth.
Yeah, they know they're Earth fish.
I don't know about that.
That's a good point.
Real xenophobic.
Right. Anyway, I would not fuck this guy. He's wet again. I'm not fucking anything that's all wet. And the teeth are not it for me. The luscious lips, it sounds nice, but they're with the teeth. I'm not here for it. And I don't think they're that scary. I don't think they're that believable. So I'd probably give them like a 2 in the other one. So not fucking.
Not a real high scoring one across the board.
I feel like you could just prove this one. Like, if there's a lake full of them, enough to feed a significant number of aliens, I feel like you could just scoop a couple out of the water or catch a couple with a...
This guy has so much information, he has to have caught them and done scientific experiments on them for all the information.
He's had 40 years. He's been working on this for 40 years. Catch one fish, buddy.
The question that the setup is begging is why can't the aliens eat like catfish or like bluegill or
McDonald's.
Carp, McDonald's.
Right.
Like even our CEO killers like McDonald's,
Right.
like it's a universal food.
Yeah.
Maybe this is like their McDonald's. This is like a Hiam Mucket is like their Big Mac.
Maybe a fish just tastes better when it thinks it's in space. Have we tested this?
We need to try this sphere.
I'm going to start telling my fish they're not on Earth and just to try it.
You are no longer Earth fish. Glub, they say.
You give him a little lick.
All right, let's move on to Buddy the Beffalo.
Okay.
Buddy the Beffalo. The tale begins. I like that it begins so haughtily for a Buddy the Beffalo. The tale begins on August 3rd, 2020, when a delivery of livestock arrived at a meat processing plant in the Terryville section of Plymouth. Rather than go silently to his fate, one animal made a play for freedom, a 1-ton Beffalo, which is a genetic cross between bison and domestic cattle. As the animal transport backed into the loading dock, Buddy pushed his way past the rest of the herd and bolted into the woods.
Oh, this is amazing. It's just like a liberated, like, Beffalo.
I'm flipping through. Yeah, there's nothing supernatural. This is just
fucking rules.
This is just an actual
So it's just a specific one.
It's a missing cow.
It's a missing cow. 5 out of 5.
This is our cryptid. Hold on, is there any?
You have discovered the most the most believable cryptid.
Absolutely.
This is out of all the ones I've ever heard of. I definitely believe in him.
Yeah, he was getting a 5 out of 5 for believability.
Someone made an insurance claim on this cryptid.
He is like the flip side of Perry Bony. Like, Perry Bony is like absolutely believable and fuckable. This guy is absolutely believable, but unfuckable.
Completely
I would not
unfuckable.
fuck this one.
You would be admitting that you want to fuck an actual animal, and that's just too far.
Right.
Right.
You know, I don't think that I have what it takes to fuck a beefalo, right?
No.
I accept my limitations.
Plus, it's just too real. Like, you could theoretically go meet this beefalo, and then you'd be like,
I see cows all the time around my neighborhood, and I never want to
never want to fuck him.
It's really awkward if you get drunk and talk about how you want to fuck somebody, and then like they hear about it, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
right.
You're like, I was just on a podcast talking about fucking creatures and fish.
I assumed you were it said you were a cryptid. I didn't think you were just like a missing cow. I didn't think I was gonna like stumble across you.
Right.
This is incredible.
The closest thing to supernatural I can find is at the very end, the sheriff who was trying to catch him. It says, during his battle of wits with the beefalo, battle of wits.
Well, he is a cop. It didn't say local genius.
During his battle of wits with the beefalo, Captain Bonecci made note of Buddy's intelligence, as well as clues to his emotional state. It's possible that beefalo breeding may produce rare, hyper-intelligent specimens, of which Buddy might be one. Hold on. It's a very smart cow, and the evidence we're presenting is that he's smarter than a local sheriff.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's a regular cow.
So this is a regular missing cow. God damn, that's a bad cryptid.
Is it the worst one, though?
There's one that might match it. I don't know if it's going to beat that. 'Cause
I like that they didn't really like give him too unbelievable a story. It's not like he was like born with the intelligence of man and he like leapt over a fence, you know. It's not the story of some great like underground railroad. It's just a missing cow.
If the tale had started like Buddy the Beefalo was discovered in a field, like obsessively watching TikTok, like he has the intelligence of a human.
He's got a cell phone plan.
Look at him, idly
Data
scrolling
out here.
like a human.
Oh, Buddy, I love you. You're a terrible fucking cryptid. Low on the scale. I can't believe some states are like, oh, we've got a Mothman. We've got a sonic Bigfoot that runs faster than sound. We've got a cow.
We've got 7 lost cats.
Oh, we got a cow. we got a murdered fancy guy. Let's try the Fairhaven Sea Dragons. That sounds like it fucking kicks ass. Located on a point of land between the Mill and Quinnipiac rivers, Fairhaven has been a favored spot for catching fish and oysters since the colonial times. However, Fairhaven wasn't always known by its present name. In fact, it was once called Dragon Point. All right. When it was founded in the late 17th century. Why? Because of the sea dragons that lived in the harbor and on the riverbanks. I feel like that sentence should end with dipshit.
Fucking idiot. Why do you think we called it that?
Why? Because of the sea dragons that lived in the harbor and on the riverbanks. Of course, we know today that the sea dragons in question are actually harbor seals. All right, moving on. That was it.
Okay.
We got harbor seals. That's one of our cryptids.
They laid out the case for the cryptid, and then they said, but it is just seals.
Yeah.
But it is just seals.
Why didn't they call it like Seal Point?
This is Sea Dragon Point. Why do you call it that? Because of all the seals.
We had gone to Vancouver at some point, and we were sitting on the beach in Vancouver, and I could see this dog, like, out in the middle of the ocean, and I started, like, losing my mind. I was like, the dog is gonna die! Why is the dog in the middle of the ocean? And it just looked like a lab or something, like, out, like, way, way far, and there was no boats out there with it. There were no people. I was like, this dog's gonna die! And I was, like, losing my mind, and then I was like, oh, no, that's his dog.
Go
I was not used to them.
swim
I was
out to
not used
rescue the
seeing
seal,
them.
and seal's just like, fucking what?
What are you doing? Go back.
I could see if you came from inland and you like weren't really familiar with the whole ocean vibe and you saw a seal, you might lose your mind. You might say, there be dragons.
Yeah, that's a dragon.
I didn't think it was a dragon, though. I thought it was a dog.
They would have called it Drowning Dog Bay.
Yeah.
These are the masturbation woods. I don't know why they call them that.
Why don't any of these cryptids come from there based on how we're ranking them?
That's true.
Actual seals, I'm going to rate seals really low.
Yeah, really,
across
really
the
low.
board.
Low, yeah.
I'm not really scared of them.
Maybe not a full disqualification, because, like, Natalie has a point that it's kind of weird to see a seal. Like, when you, like, really think about it, you're like, it's kind of a weird...
I love how far we're moving the bar. We've moved the bar so far that, like, an actual seal is like...
it's kind
I don't know, that's a 2.
crazy.
It's weird to see a seal.
If I saw a seal, I'd say that's more notable than the unusual shopkeeper I met earlier. I'd say, if I was recounting my day, I'd say, I had a great day. I saw a seal. Oh, yeah, and an unusual shopkeeper. That's the order I would list them in. So I'm going to put
What if he had 2 kinds of snuff for the Swedes, though?
That's okay.
Wild.
I didn't even know they made that many
We're
snuffs.
getting wild
Two-
in here.
2 types of snuff, you say? Huh.
I don't know. I think that the Valero in our neighborhood has like 8 or 9 kinds of snuff last time I looked.
Cryptid! That's the home of a cryptid.
I'm putting a seal even lower.
Surely he has a painting somewhere.
So I'm gonna give the seal a 1, and I'm gonna give it a 0 on fuckability. Again,
Yep.
wet.
Very
I will
wet.
never fuck a wet thing.
5 on believability. I do believe seals. I've seen them.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
I've
Is
fought
there.
a lot of animals. Haven't fought a seal, so I guess 4 on believability. Until I fight it, it's not fully real.
I would give them pretty high on ferocity just because, if you were in the water, the seal would destroy you. And on land, they're like a big hunk of muscle and blubber. I don't think you'd
Yeah.
get anywhere
You can
if
kick
you
it.
tried to fight him, and I think
You
he'd
can kick
really
it.
rip you up.
You can kick the shit out
You'd
of
have to
it.
have like a stabbing weapon. If you were just trying to wrestle him, like you're going to get so tired before you have any prayer of killing that seal.
I have like a universal technique for fighting animals, and that is to grab their back legs and wheelbarrow them. But I can't do that to a
Yeah, I
seal.
don't think
So
that would
like
work.
Yeah.
you've convinced me. At 5 out of 5 out of savageness, I am helpless against that seal.
If you could circle around to the back of them and get like a giant swing going, grab him by his little tail or his flippers, whatever they got back there, and then start spinning, get him off the ground completely, I think that's how you beat him.
I think I would run over it with a go-kart.
Yep, that'd do it.
I think I'd just be friends with it. Does that count? Like, does that count as
Sure,
winning the fight if
sure.
we're just friends?
Well,
Yeah,
if
I
you
think it
mean
does.
if you mean like becoming friends with him and learning about him so you can betray him more effectively.
Yeah, you could battle him like emotionally and destroy his
Oh,
spirit.
no, not really. I don't. I wish I could. I can't really betray. It's too close to a dog.
Well, I don't want to bring the mood down, but I have fucked a seal many times. It's a 4 out of 5.
All right, let's move on that. No, we're not going to beat that. So let's move on to, let's make this our final one. The horse creature.
Oh, it's just a horse.
Yeah, it's just some rancher's horse.
Well, hold on.
So it's probably a dressage horse.
It could be a mad horse's ghost.
Okay.
Let's give him a shot. Let's hear more about the horse.
Jim Wheeler was just about to enter his teens in the mid-1990s when he crossed paths with an uncanny creature that he said will be burned into his memory until the day he dies. Okay, that's not just a horse.
Yeah, it has to be more than a horse.
Jim hadn't gone far when he realized he wasn't alone. Rearing up among the trees, its coat the color of snow, was a creature that partly resembled a horse. As Jim watched, the beast bucked wildly up and down, almost in a running motion. However, the creature never managed to move any closer, nor did it make any noise. Even stranger was the fact that the creature didn't seem to have the long body of a horse. Jim instead described it as looking at the front of a horse, head on.
Then he noticed he was at the drive-in theater, and it was a film called Never Ending Story.
Flipping ahead, no, that's it. He looked at a horse from the front.
Holy shit. He saw a horse face.
I'm going to admit, I grew up in the city. I didn't grow up around horses. And the first time I saw a horse up close, I was like, motherfucker, that thing is gigantic. I thought horses were like my height. And I'm looking up, and this son of a bitch is like 10 feet tall. And I was like, I do not like this. No wonder one of these destroyed Superman. Like, I would never get on these in a million years. I'm not even going to get close to them.
Yeah.
They're too dangerous. And as far as just seeing a horse from head on, there is a cryptid in Fresno, California, other side of the country, but he's white. He's kind of ghostly and transparent, but it's a guy that's just 2 legs. He's called the Fresno Nightcrawler.
He just looks like pants.
He looks like a pair of glowing white pants, and I have to wonder if the horse isn't related.
This is the top half of those pants, you think?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Like a reverse centaur.
I'm really trying to look through this while you guys are talking, finding anything that's not Jim saw a horse from the front.
No, I think we're onto something.
The classic horse costume is 2 people inside the horse. This ghostly horse may have been split front to back and separated to 2 different coasts of the continent to keep him from reuniting and realizing his full power.
We cannot allow the prophecy to be foretold.
It's possible he just saw a guy looking for the back half of his costume.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what it is.
Have you seen my body? Monster!
This is a really embarrassing book. Like, I can't believe they didn't finish this book and say, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
I thought we'd go out on that one, but that's just you saw.
Yeah, he just saw a horse.
You saw a horse from the front. All right. Okay, this one is the Talcott Mountain Robot.
Oh, okay.
Sweet.
Right, that sounds better. Shortly before midnight on September 3rd, 1967, motorists passing over Talcott Mountain on Route 44 in Avon spotted a bipedal creature in all silver waving to cars from the side of the road. Police received the first call about the robot or spaceman at 11:30 p.m., followed by 2 more calls in the early hours of September 4th. Officers went to investigate, but a search of the area turned up no trace of the creature. After that, the Talcott Mountain Robot was never seen again. Whatever its true nature, it was content to leave Connecticutians, I don't think that's what you call us, with more questions than answers. Sightings of the Talcott Mountain Robot were surprisingly similar in their characterization of the creature. Reports said that the being was completely covered in what looked like a silver suit, including its hands and feet. It also appeared to have a reflective metallic hood or helmet over its head that obscured its face. Given that this was the dead of night and that the creature was only seen by the light of car headlamps, it's difficult to say whether the being was wearing a suit or if this was its natural skin or scales. Though the creature's intentions were unclear, motorists assumed that it was waving to or trying to flag down passing vehicles, and no one stopped that we know of.
It's a little telling that the person who wrote this book didn't consider that you can wear a robot costume, that a man could just put silver on and create exactly this effect, whether for a prank or just he was on his way to a Halloween party or he was doing a robot act for loose change.
It doesn't sound like it sounds like an astronaut costume to me, which is...
Yeah.
It could just be an astronaut. It could have been an astronaut like, I landed here, can you take me back to base? And everybody was like, fuck no. I live in Connecticut. This counts as a cryptid.
This is as close as we're coming. My buddy saw half of a horse. I'm counting this. This
It
is a
kind of makes me
cryptid
feel
to me.
like maybe people in Connecticut, maybe one person heard of what a cryptid was and they didn't really understand. And then they came back and told all the rest of the people in Connecticut about it. And they're like, oh, yeah, I definitely saw a horse once.
Yeah, I've seen cryptids too. My neighbor?
He's a little weird. Can you imagine how awesome a movie would be about Connecticut cryptids? Like a Connecticut Creature Commando cryptids, where it's just like a horse and a little guy with a shop, a robot street performer, and then like
Right.
a lake of very confused fish. The crimes they could solve. I mean, the giant electric fish probably leads them, right? Like, he's their Professor X. He's the only one with any kind of abilities.
Although they never said it was electric. They said it was a giant fish made by the electric company to, I guess, increase profits? I am paying for that fucking fish.
I think matching them up to the X-Men is good. Like the shopkeeper could be the one of the X-Men that's dead.
X-Men is too powerful. I was thinking more like the A-Team or even lower than the A, like a MacGyver level, like 80s action show where...
Or like the Get Along Gang.
Yeah, the Get Along
There you
Gang.
go.
Yeah.
They could, Connecticut cryptids could maybe hold their own against the Get Along Gang.
I mean, that is perfect because, like, one is a sheep, one is a cow.
Yep.
None of them are particularly ferocious.
There's some seals.
Got a missing cow, some seals. We got a lost guy in an astronaut costume. He could have just been, like, his car broke down on its way from a costume party. Like, we did not give him a ride is the important part.
I will say the robot guy immediately made me think of what is probably my favorite cryptid, which is the Sandown Clown.
Oh, shit. Okay. Tell me about that one.
Now, this guy is not very popular. I have not seen very many people talk about him, but he is a cryptid that has only really shown himself to children.
Oh.
Okay.
And
It.
it is
We're
like
doing an it.
kids are like out playing in the woods and stuff, and they come across this clown guy who has this big round head that is like totally flat, and his features are just painted on the head, and he has like a cone hat, and he has like stereotypical clown,
Like a lollipop
clown
man?
clothes. Yeah, kind of. He kind of reminds me, like, if when I think about it, like the Jack in the Box guy,
Okay.
maybe. And then he has wooden arms and hands that only have 3 fingers on them. And so he has these weird flipper arms, and then he wears these weird gloves, and he is the weirdest person. He's the weirdest cryptid I have ever fucking read about. And the kids say that he was eating berries, but he would eat the berries by, like, sticking one in his ear, and then it would pop out his eye and roll down his face, and he would, like, kind of get it into his weird mouth. It was, like, extremely weird. And he also seemed like he could not speak proper English, and he called himself All Colors Sam.
See, that's how you make a cryptid, Connecticut.
Yeah.
You don't just, like, find a loose cow. You have a fucking nightmare clown shoving berries through his skull.
Right.
At least
right.
put the loose cow in clown makeup or something.
Something.
Juggalo,
Right.
missing Juggalo Beefalo.
The Sandown Clown, though, if you guys ever get a chance to read about him, it was probably one of my favorite episodes of our podcast that we did. It was so fucking
And
funny.
you just shamed everything Connecticut has to offer in mere minutes.
Get on the Sandown Clown level, Connecticut. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I'm gonna fuck this robot guy.
Why not?
He seems like he needs a break. He had a rough night.
Right.
Nobody picked him up. I'll
I'm
pick him
gonna
up.
take him back to the stars. I'll make him feel like he was installed, and then I'll dump him in the lake, and he'll think he was there forever.
Einstein, Hunter, Frankfurt. Einstein, Hunter, Frankfurt. Unser Podcast genau. Und mit maximalem Schau. Dog Frankfurt Podcast. Korrekt. Ja. Der Kraft ist nicht gratis, nicht ohne. Schick die in die Hundezone. 4 Uhr eine Stunde. Komm schon.